Lately, a lot of people on YouTube are asking me how they can improve the quality of their vlogs or videos when they record in their room. So when they use their room as a studio with just a smartphone without any extra gear. So we'll go back to the very basics of videography. We're gonna use natural light, just a smartphone, as you can see, not tripod, nothing else, but just your phone and your room. I hope these tips are going to be helpful for the smart workers nowadays, very useful for Zoom calls, conference calls, but also for your vlogs when you use your room as your studio. And I want to show you how you can turn something like this into something more pleasant than people can actually watch, like this. So welcome to an average Italian house. This is my living room. You might recognize it from my previous videos. This is my studio, so what you usually see is that wall over there. I wanted to show you just a real life situation, and that's why it's a bit messy, so don't mind the mess. We're gonna fix it and tidy it up together. I want to share with you why I chose this room amongst all the rooms the few rooms I have in my house, because this is the biggest and brightest room, and that's what we're going to talk about in a second, the light. But before we do that, I want to cover the settings I'm going to use on my phone. So let's get started with that. I'm going to open up my camera first of all. There you go. And let's go to the settings. Now, my phone is very basic, so I can't choose many options, which in a way it's actually a good thing, so you don't get crazy with the settings. So let's go through the main ones. First of all, make sure you go to the video section of your camera, not in the photo mode, but in the video mode. And we're gonna choose the aspect ratio. So on the left hand side, in my case, I have the 16:9 aspect ratio. If you tilt your phone upwards, so in a vertical format, you will see the aspect ratio changing in 9:16. Let's put it in landscape mode, because that's what we want to film at. And I press on these settings and I choose 16:9. I can always choose 1:1, but that's not what I want. It is more for Instagram posts. So let's go with the 16:9, make sure you press that. The next important settings, which I don't have on my phone because it's very basic once again, is the frame rate. So make sure you pick the right frame rate. If you can, choose a frame rate which is 24 frames per second or 25 or 30. This is the lowest you can go. Don't go with 50, 60, 120, because if you just talk to the camera, you don't need that frame rate, and it's just a lot of storage wasted. So go with the basics, go with 24, 25 or 30. Then in the settings, so go to the settings wheel, we're gonna scroll down to find some important features, which is the resolution of my cameras. So you have two cameras on your phone, one front camera, which is the one where you can actually see the screen, so the one on the monitor, and the rear camera, the one at the back of your phone. And you can choose usually the resolution for both camera, for either cameras. So I go on both of them, and if you have the option that says 4K, then choose 4K because it's the best resolution, and it will allow us to crop inside the image if we wanted to do so later on. But unfortunately, my phone only supplies me with the resolution in Full HD, so 1920 pixel by 1080, and that's what I choose. And I do the same with the front video. Now let's talk about the location, and I mentioned in the intro that I chose my living room. Why I chose the living room? Because the light is the best here in my house. And first of all, you want to open up all your curtains, so open up and let as much light as you can in your room. Nice and bright. Now to start understanding what's happening here, you want to set up the front camera of your phone, so the camera here on your screen, and just use the selfie mode so you can actually see yourself and understanding what's around you, how the light is working as well. All right, what you want to do next is not to be next to a wall, not too close to a wall like this, for example. Okay, so that's not what you want, because you're going to create some shadows just at the back of your figure. Basically, you don't want that because it's gonna look very amateur. Okay, so get away from the wall. There you go. So we don't see any shadows created by our body through the light coming through the window. The next step for me is to decide where I'm gonna stand, if I want to stand or if I want to sit down. In my case, I want to sit down right here on my desk. So I'm going to sit down and I'm going to create a homemade tripod. As I mentioned in the intro, I want to give you some tips on how to create these settings without using any extra camera gear, but just using your smartphone. So let's create a tripod together. This is where I want to sit, guys, and I'm just gonna test how he will look. So I take my phone, use the front camera. So this is where I'm gonna place my camera more or less. And this is what I'm seeing through my mobile phone right now. I'm gonna move a few things around as well. And I can start by using a box, actually, just a simple box, which I have here. And I'm gonna test the height straight away. I think this is too low for my face. Okay, I want to build a solid tripod, so I might need to add some books. This could be a nice stand for me. The important thing is to create a setup that can hold your phone straight. And I can just grab a couple of boxes here. Is to do that, just to hold my phone for now. As you can see, I'm seeing some of the paper down here. So what I can do is to just slide the mobile phone towards the front. There you go. And this is nice and straight. Now let's talk about light, and that's probably the most important thing we're talking about today. And one of the most important tips is not to keep the light at your back. And I'm gonna show you what I mean. Don't keep the light at your back. You're going to create a silhouette around your body. You're not gonna see anything very ugly, okay? Don't do that. So what I recommend to do is to keep the light at your side and have a look actually at what I'm seeing through my phone. So as soon as I start rotating and the light starts lighting up my face, look how I change. It's a completely different image, okay? And I keep going until I'm happy with it. Now the next tip is not to be too close to the window, because that can create very strong highlights, okay? And too much shadow as well on the other side of the face. Also, you want to keep in mind the distance between the light source and your face. And this is actually a good distance for me because I'm standing out from the background, but I'm really nicely lit. So I'm not overexposed or underexposed. Now, a better option, instead of having the light at your back, is to have the light entirely at your front. So something like this. This is much better than having the light at the back, as you've seen before, okay? This is nice. I'm kind of exposed properly as well, which is a kind of an even exposure, but that's not really what I like personally. But this is a first setup you can use. So keep the light in front of yourself. The kind of lighting style I like refers to Rembrandt. He was a Dutch painter. Basically, he was recreating a triangle of light under one of the parts of the face. And I show you what I mean. So as I spin to my right, you can see the light is creating some shadows on the right hand side of my face, and I keep going until I see a triangle of light be created under my eye. Something like this. So you can see I have this triangle of light hitting my cheek basically. That's what I want to achieve with my lighting setup. So it's kind of interesting, it's not as even as when I face in the light entirely. Okay, so this is the front light. Have a look how it changes. Some contrast, nice and clean still. To achieve the Rembrandt lighting style, you want to have the light source at 45 degrees more or less off your face. So this is in front of me, 0 degrees. You want to spin to 45. It could be to your left or to your right. More or less, that's going to recreate this nice light triangle under one of your eyes. So this is my position. This is what I like, and I'm going to place my phone as it was, and this is a good lighting for me. Now, as we know how to direct the light properly, let's talk about the composition of our frame, of our shot. As I mentioned, you want to have your camera in landscape mode, very important. I never film in vertical mode, but that's also the main aspect ratios that all the filmmakers and cinematographers are using in the world. Then we want to find the right angle. So that's very important as well. As you can see, my camera is straight, so it's not tilting down like that or tilting up. This tilting up and down is also changing the shape of your face. It's not recommended to use a low angle, so using a camera by facing up, because it's usually going to increase the size of your neck and your jaws and your cheeks and all that kind of features. And also you're not going to see anything in terms of background, you're just seeing the ceiling, so not very nice. If you want to face down, once again, you're going to see the floor and you're going to increase the size of your forehead. So if you keep the camera in front of you, that's going to reproduce nice and proportioned features of your face. So that's what you want to do. Find a straight angle, and that's why you want to have a nice tripod set up properly and with the height properly set up as well. In terms of distance of my phone from my face, it's 1 arm away. Literally, my arm is just straight, as you can see from there. That's a good distance. The angle is quite nice. Oh, and look at that highlight as well coming from the window. That's quite nice. Talking about light as well, guys, if you have curtains, white curtains, as I have right here today, this is a good way to diffuse the light. So you can use that as a soft box, and I show you quickly the difference. So if I pull the curtains, the light will be more diffused and more evenly distributed in my background, but also over my face. You can see the light is less harsh on my face, which is nice. So I keep it as it is, but I show you the difference. I open up again, much more light is coming in. Okay, I just pull it back because I've got some highlight here. That's nice. I really like that thing over there. The next thing about composition is to keep yourself in the center of the frame. You can usually set up also some grids on your camera. The grids are literally just a few lines on your screen that are going to divide the monitor into 9 different areas, and you can properly center yourself. I recommend to go in your settings and find the grid, turn it on, and place yourself in the middle of the frame, as you can see me right here. Then when we talk about cinematography and framing your shot, also you want to make sure you have some air. It's called air, so a bit of space between the top of your head and the top of the frame. So you don't want to crop your head, something like that. That's not nice. You don't want to have too much air like this, but you want to have just a tiny bit of space, something like that. Now we talk about audio because we just don't want to look good, but we want to sound good. And that's why I also keep my phone 1 arm away from me, because the microphone is going to pick up my voice properly. If I put my phone far away from me, I would pick up a lot of ambient noise, and that's not what I want. To enhance the audio as well, because sometimes in bigger rooms we have a lot of echo and reverb, this is another tip. We're going to add a blanket just behind our mobile phone. Why is that? Because if we have a straight wall just behind the phone, we're gonna talk and our audio waves, the voice waves, are going to hit the wall and come back inside the phone, creating some echoes and reverb. But if we put a blanket, the blanket is actually absorbing these waves and they're not gonna reflect back into our audio. So what I'm doing, I've got this blanket and I find a way to hang this blanket just behind my phone, which is right there. So I'm gonna put the blanket here somewhere. So we set up the curtains just behind the phone, and it can make quite a difference. So I recommend to use that. Now let's talk about the background. As you can see, my room is not completely tied up, or maybe that's not the background, the clean background I want for my video, and you can see it here. So this is what I'm seeing right now at my back. Now I have a lamp which kind of works. I have a couple of paintings and I have this light right here which definitely is bothering me, and it doesn't give me that sense of tidiness. So I'm gonna move that straight away, and then we're gonna set up the background. But the tip here is to really make your background nice and clean. So it doesn't matter whatever else you have around you, but it matters what you can see through your monitor, through your phone. So always keep an eye on your phone and your background and just clean it up. So let's move this. I still have a painting over here which I don't like, so we're gonna move it, but also I don't like this painting, so I'm gonna move that and maybe replace it with this one here. Let's go. This is not too bad, even though if I'm centering myself here in the frame, this painting is just in a weird position. It's kind of chopping my head over there. So One tip as well, if the background doesn't work, just take everything off and just use a nice and white background. So in this case, less is better than more. What I can do is to try to set up this lamp properly. So I'm gonna move it to my right hand side. And also, if it works out, I'm gonna turn it on and see if it creates some contrast between the natural light and this kind of warm light. Something like that, so it's more in frame. I might get rid of this pillow. Meanwhile, the light is changing as well, so I might be able to change the frame, you know. So I'm now centered. I'm in the center also of the two paintings and they work out properly. If I want to chop maybe the heater here, I can move the tripod forward. There it is. And also I don't like this light, for example. So I'm just moving this forward and I'm gonna move myself backward and turn this light on. I still have some contrast here, some nice shadows and highlights. I have this lamp on, which it's not very visible, but it's there and it creates some contrast. I have some modern paintings over there and I'm centered in the frame. Now, what I recommend to do next is to use the rear camera of your phone. So we're gonna switch to the rear camera, and that's because most of the times the rear camera has a better technology inside, so it gives you better quality and better resolution. What I'm gonna do, I'm rotating, literally spinning my phone to the other side, and I'm switching the camera as well to the rear one. I make sure the camera here is at the top of my phone. I hit the record button already. I'm gonna place the camera in front of my face. So the camera is usually on one side of your phone. So make sure not the phone, but your camera is in a straight line in front of your face, okay? So don't do this, but make sure just the camera, because that's the important device you're facing. And another thing, be aware of where the camera is and make sure you start looking through the lens. As the rear camera of the phone is in a similar position of the front camera, you shouldn't have any issue. You can just press record and start your video call or your vlog. Let's talk quickly about post-production. If you can, if you use a video editing software, sometimes I add some color correction, so maybe I adjust the temperature of the image, but also I add a vignette around my subject. And that's to just highlight my subject, so to focus on my subject instead of the environment. But it's a personal choice, so you can do what you want. You can just skip the video as it is straight out of your phone. I also want to share with you some accessories that you can use to enhance even more the quality of your videos taking on your smartphone in your room, and you can check all the accessories I use in the description tab. Also, you can check some vlogs and reviews I've done here before. If you want to enhance also your video making and video editing skills, go and check my online courses on my website at mamoer.com/courses or Udemy, where I have some of my courses marked as bestseller. If you want me to cover other subjects in terms of video making, video editing, and content production in general, drop a comment down here. I'd be happy to cover the subject for you. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it's gonna be useful. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.
Seems all good times come and go your way.